What's going on, you guys? Today we're going to get right into it, man. We're going to get into Lefty Gunplay being on Hoodstocks podcast. And the reason why I decided to make this episode, man, was because I wanted to break it down from a very psychological perspective. I wanted to give this a different angle. I watched the comments. I watched a couple of videos. It happened yesterday, right? Live. So today, a whole bunch of YouTubers and a whole bunch of TikTokers picked it up and they're reposting it. They're doing it for numbers, obviously. But if you jump in the comments, you get to read different information from different followers who know a lot about these platforms, who know a lot about the host, and who know a lot about the artist. If you guys don't know who Hoodstocks podcast is, man, it's a Hoodstocks podcast. It's a podcast that showcases a lot of Mexican culture, a lot of street culture, I guess you could say. But I've only been a follower. I've only been a subscriber for about 2 weeks long. I subscribed to him about 3 years ago, maybe. When the homie Magoo was on there, the homie Magoo sent me the link and said, "Hey, I'm gonna do an interview." And it was just ironic that happened because me and Magoo did like a live interview. He jumped on my live and it was like an interview. And after that, Hoodstocks interviewed him. So I followed Hoodstocks to support the homie Magoo. And I stayed on that platform for about 2 weeks. And I immediately registered how the host was. And I was just like, I don't like that. I don't like that type of person. So I unfollowed the platform. And, I still see it come across my TikTok. I still see it come across my Instagram here and there. Sometimes people send me a clip of something. And one of the reasons why I stopped following the dude was because he's a very contradicting person. He and I mentioned that in my podcast before, where your mouth can be very manipulative. I can tell you guys right now that I'm a certain kind of way, and then I can be a different kind of way than what I say. I can contradict myself, and that's what I find Homeboy to be, very contradicting. And also, he's always under some kind of influence of stuff, and he's always crashing out, man. He doesn't have he lacks self-control a lot. So that's what I picked up on the very beginning, and I just decided not to follow no more. That's it. I don't know the guy, so it wasn't personal at all. It was just a typical content channel that I decided to unfollow. So anyways, man, fast forward a couple of years, man. Lefty Gunplay right now is the hottest Mexican rapper right now. He's the most controversial, I should say. And he just started, so a lot of people are like, he's trash. You got to give him time to grow, man. He's a new artist. Oh man, he don't know how to be. He's always faded. I mean, how many legendary rock stars showed up to radio shows and interviews faded? That's the rock star life. So Lefty's basically just a young rock star, you know. And Lefty's under a management. He's under a label, and his label manager is always with him. So his label manager is like his handler. He makes sure Lefty conducts business. He makes sure that the business gets done so that they can get their pay, and they're just conducting business. He's teaching Lefty how to conduct business. Lefty's been to prison. He's been in the system. He's a street kid. So he's street savvy. So if you know anything about street culture, man, dudes who've been in and out of the system, they know how to manipulate, and they know how to receive people playing with them from social workers, counselors, other inmates. Like, they know how to tell who's playing them and who's playing with them. They're very hypersensitive to that, but they also know how to play people. So anyways, they're on the podcast show, man. And, one thing leads to another. They're both intoxicated, obviously. And the host, he's known to be very aggressive, very sneak dissing like. He speaks very, very out of pocket, what I'm saying, to the guest. And the guests kind of just are respectful for the most part, because he is the host, and they don't really take offense to it, assuming that, like, that's how I am. Like, if that's how you are, I'm going to let you be how you are. I won't take offense to nothing that you say, because that's how you are, right? And so anyways, man, so they were going back and forth, and he said something to Lefty that caught Lefty off guard. Now, if you know anything about that particular situation, that incident, that moment, if you know anything about it, then you would understand what transpired afterwards. People were saying, like, man, he apologized to him, and Lefty wouldn't let it go, and he kept bringing it up. And it's like, yeah, because that bothered him. that bothered him to the point where it's like, you're not trustworthy anymore. You came at me cool like a homie. You welcome me here like a homie. You talk to me like a homie. You try to be on my team like you're a homie, like you're a supporter. But low key, there's something there that's not like very homie like. There's an energy there that's not so homie. And usually, like they say, man, you let somebody run their mouth enough, they're going to tell you who they are. So sure enough, he said something and Lefty caught it, and it made Lefty feel away. And from that point forward, it's like Lefty's transmission was stuck. Like he just couldn't, he was trying to move on, but he couldn't move on, and he couldn't. So what happens is this type of scenario. Let's say I'm in your 13-year-old daughter's DM and I'm trying to fuck, right? And then you jump in my DM and say, hey, homie, you're in my daughter's DM. Don't you know she's 13? And I'll be like, oh, my bad, bro. My bad, brother. I apologize, man. I didn't even know that was your daughter. I apologize, bro. Let's move on. Are you going to move on? All right. So certain things rub people a certain way that they just can't move on from. Now, if you step on my shoe, brand new Jordans, I just paid $600 for, you step on them, you apologize, maybe you make it right, say, hey, homie, I'll give you $500 right now just for the mistake I made. That's resolvable. Hey, man, thank you. It's cool, man. Thank you. Appreciate your gesture. You know, you're trying to fix it. In that situation, then the situation gets fixed. But if I'm talking to you and we're joking, and let's say I'm doing a podcast with you, and we're talking about your mom, you're talking about your childhood, and you bring up your mom, and I'm like, hell yeah, that bitch is crazy. Like, hey, dog, don't call my mom a bitch. My bad, homie. You know, that's just the way I talk, homie. It ain't nothing personal. That's just the way, hey, man, what's up, baby? Chill, baby. That's the way the host was talking to homeboy, and it's like, nah. You already broke the egg, man. There's no way, So anyway, but you still have to finish the interview. You still have to conduct yourself professionally because you are there on business. People in the comments were like, he should have caught a fade, So the host, it gets a little hot. The host stands up and wants to fight him and shit, and Lefty's looking at he's interacting with his management as if like, what do I do in a sense? It's like, is this fool for real? It's like, is what do I do? So you can hear a lot of, people yelling in the background, like, chill. And the host is still like, I'll fuck you up. We can catch a fade. He's like, don't let this 47-year-old whip your ass or something like that. He said, he mentioned his age and mentioned his tough guy talk, and then, so if you know how to read body language, right? When Lefty stood up, you can see he was genuinely like, nah, he don't want no problems. He came for business. But as he saw that no one was able to tame this fucking beast, Lefty put his hand in his pocket. And maybe he was fiddling with some keys or something. I don't know. But that was his safe place. Because he saw that there's nobody here that had enough control, enough power to make this fool be quiet and calm down. There was nobody here to radio this guy. So Lefty went into his safe place. And if you know anything about body language, man, that's the very first thing that I picked up. Like, above all the other shenanigans, because that's all that it was shenanigans, I just saw the body language and Lefty's hand gestures. He did, he's very fiddly. If you see Lefty, he's always under some kind of influence, so he's very fidgety. And his hands, he moves his hands all weird and shit. But if you see his hands when he stood up, he like did the fiddle thing with his hands, the fidgety thing, and then he went right in his pocket because at that moment he realized like there's nobody here that's gonna stop this train, so I gotta stop this train if it gets off track. And that's what I saw about it, man. So if you read the comments, you got people saying like, oh, he should have caught the fade. He's a lame. He's a bitch. He don't have no hands and this and that. And it's like, okay, what if he would have caught hands and what if they would have killed each other? Or what if one would have killed another on YouTube Live? Then what? Then everybody would have been like, them fools are stupid. Whoever survived would have got life in prison, like they would have lost everything. It would have been a lose-lose situation. And it's not even personal. They don't even know each other like that. So based off the comments, man, a lot of people that know the host and know the podcast, they were saying like that fool's a hater, man. He always hates on young artists. He's always hating on young, vibrant artists and vibrant people, man. He's just an old hater. He's an old wannabe rapper and just mad that these young rappers are shining and really moving. And he's like an attention whore. He wants to be the center of attention. He wants the spotlight. So that's why he created a podcast so that he can be somebody in the spotlight. But he's reckless. He doesn't know how to obtain the spotlight. He doesn't know how to handle it. Some people were like, he's going to come up with an apology tomorrow. So people were getting on his case. People who were following the host, who follow the host's podcast. So that's what I got out of it, man. So I decided to get on my platform and speak on it from a psychological standpoint. Like, this is how you read people. This is how you determine whether a person is okay to be around. You know what I'm saying? Because this, ultimately street culture, whether you like it or not, man, it's in the car culture. It's part of the motorcycle and car culture. So if you start seeing how people behave and you start reading body language and you start reading people like and how they move and start watching, you start to learn things and you start to avoid a lot of problems. Everybody's going to do what they're going to do. I'm not here to persuade nobody to do what they're going to do. I'm just here to break down this particular incident because no one in the comments, and I mean no one in the comments, noticed that Lefty went in his pocket. When you're in danger, what do? When you are in a situation where you know you're going to have to eject, and if you can't eject, you're going to have to combat, what do? You look for you look for something for safety. You look for something, a weapon, a place to hide, a place to run. You look for safety. And if you're in a corner and you ain't got nowhere to run and you ain't got nowhere to hide, and you got something in your pocket that can provide some safety, then that's the very first place you're going to go. And that's exactly what I saw. So everybody, keeps talking about how he's a lame and he didn't want to catch a fade. If I come to your podcast to do a show and you pay me to come do a interview, I don't care how out of line it gets. Like, I don't care about that. I need to get my money when I came here for money. First of all, we're not homies, so I didn't come here because I love you. I came here because you paid me. So I want to make sure I conduct my business so I can leave with my money. That's why I'm here in the first place. Now, everybody has a different way of looking at it, right? This is just my perspective. And if you guys watch the interview, if you guys watch how it all went down, you'll read all the comments, and maybe you'll even be the one to say, yo, he's a bitch. He should have fought. If you're at a job right now, you guys are making $100,000 a year or whatever you're making a year, and someone says something slick to you, he's not your homie, he's just your coworker, and he says something slick to you, it's like, and if he says, well, let's go to the back of the trailers and catch a fade, two things are going to happen. Either he's going to whoop on you and someone's going to notice you whooped on and they're going to run cameras, or somebody's going to get hurt enough to where the paramedics got to come get somebody up out of there. And then, cameras are going to catch all that, right? So you have to register all of that from the very beginning. Let's go to the back of the trailer, homie. That immediately should be like in your mind, like, I'm here to do a job, man. I don't even know you. You have a problem with yourself. So you're at work trying to have a problem with somebody else. You're trying to crash me out. Now, if you're attacked, then that's different. But if you're in the stage of conversation, if you're in the stage of still verbalizing things, then you should be able to detect what's happening. Now, if somebody just rush you, you have to defend yourself. You got to do what you got to do. And then at that point, that person has to deal with whatever you bring to the table. That person's bad now. Anyway, man, I hope you guys got something out of this, man. I hope you guys, if nothing else, I hope you guys just listen to a perspective, a different angle, man, from what's already being said, what's already being heard, what's already being shared, man, by a lot of these other platforms. So be careful who you follow, man, and watch people's movements. Watch people, how they get down. And if you watch people and you know they're lame and they do some lame shit, then you're lame too. All right. That's just bottom line, man. Accept the fact. And if you are lame like that, just unfollow me, you know? All right, guys. Peace.